In today's video, we will be telling you about Russia's potential threat to the International Space Station. Russian officials have claimed that if the United States has sanctions against Russia, the International Space Station will inevitably be destroyed. What are these sanctions? How can the ISS be destroyed? And can Musk's Starlink network actually save the ISS? Stick around to the end to find out. According to Russia's space agency chairman, the sanctions implemented by the US and its allies in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine could jeopardize the cooperation on the International Space Station. Following President Biden's announcement on Thursday that the US would sanction major Russian banks and put export controls on Russia in order to reduce high-tech imports, Roscosmos' director, General Dmitry Rogozin, stated that the ISS is currently under Russian control. Rogozin said in one of his tweets, "If you block cooperation with us, who will save the International Space Station from an uncontrolled deorbit and fall into the United States or Europe?" There is also the possibility of a 500-ton structure falling on India and China. Do you want to threaten them with such a prospect? The ISS does not fly over Russia, therefore all the risks are yours. Are you ready for them? 2 Russian cosmonauts, 4 NASA astronauts, and 1 European astronaut are currently on board the station. According to a NASA spokesperson, they will continue to engage with all of their international partners, including the state space corporation Roscosmos, to ensure the International Space Station's continued safe operations. The new export controls will enable continued civil space collaboration between the United States and Russia. The agency's support for existing in-orbit and ground station operations is not expected to change. Former NASA astronaut Garrett Reisman told CNN that the International Space Station, which is a joint venture between the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and the European Space Agency, cannot work unless the United States and Russia cooperate. The Russian segment can't function without the American side's electricity, and the American side can't function without the Russian side's propulsion systems, Reisman explained. So you can't perform a conscious uncoupling or an amicable divorce. The UK's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, expressed concern about the ISS's future, saying that while he has been supportive of continuous collaboration on the ISS, current conditions have made it difficult to see how even those can continue as normal. In a tweet on February 28th, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov acknowledged receipt of what looks to be a shipment of Starlink terminals. "You are most welcome," Elon Musk replied. The terminals are on-ground satellite receivers and transmitters that individuals in Ukraine require to use Musk's satellite internet system Starlink. The following tweet was sent by John Scott Railton, a senior cybersecurity researcher at the University of Toronto. "Good to see, but remember, if Putin controls the air above Ukraine, users' uplink transmissions become beacons for airstrikes." It was part of a long thread of tweets from the head of Russia's space agency, Roscosmos, that began late Thursday and continued well into the weekend. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Starlink, became interested in the Ukraine crisis. Dmitry Rogozin, the chairman of Roscosmos, was responding to sanctions imposed on Russia by countries such as the United States and certain European countries in response to its war in Ukraine. On the other hand, sanctions have included a variety of actions, such as boycotting sporting events or relocating events outside of Russia. And on the other end of the scale, there have been many major economic threats. They have, however, mentioned the new territorial domain of outer space. In tweets, he has stated that Europe, Asia, and the United States cannot function without Russia's space corporation. Do you want to ban all countries from launching their spacecraft on Russian rockets, which are the most reliable in the world? Rogozin asked in a thread. "You've done that already. Do you want to destroy our cooperation on the ISS?" he writes. "You are doing that already by restricting exchange between our cosmonaut and astronaut training centers." But it's a section that begins by blaming skilled businessmen for littering near-Earth orbit with space debris, the zone where our nearest communication satellites and the International Space Station fly, that appears to have gotten Musk engaged directly. Musk's followers on Twitter asked if this meant SpaceX would save the ISS, and he replied with a single word: yes. It's unclear how the firm would go about guaranteeing that the space station doesn't crash into populous areas in the future. However, it is clear that Musk and other private space companies have a vested interest in assisting NASA and its partners, including Roscosmos, in getting things right. So, will the ISS be deorbited by 2030? NASA and the Biden administration have committed the US to continue ISS operations until 2030. Russia is mentioned as one of the lead partners in a NASA report released in January. However, this was before Russia invaded Ukraine. Space operations such as those carried out on the International Space Station today are expected to transfer to the commercial sector after 2030. With NASA's cooperation, firms such as SpaceX, Axiom, Blue Origin, NanoRacks, and Northrop Grumman are expected to develop so-called commercial low Earth orbit destinations. The space station will subsequently be deorbited or brought back to Earth in a controlled manner and will crash into the South Pacific Ocean uninhabited area, which is located near Point Nemo. Decommissioned satellites and other space trash are commonly dumped there by spacefaring nations. SpaceX, as a leading commercial company that has previously been licensed by NASA to transfer people and supplies to the International Space Station, wants to play a key role in ensuring the station's long-term viability. Axiom, the company that will transport the first private crew to the International Space Station, has already committed to creating its own space station, and it intends to use the ISS as a launching pad for that endeavor. However, no matter who it is or what they do in the future, everyone in the industry understands how difficult it is to transport heavy materials to space. At least some of these businesses are likely seeking to salvage pieces of the ISS. Hang on a second, viewers. Before we tell you about why Ukraine needs Starlink, we would really appreciate it if you extend your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Now, let's continue. The knock-on effect for Mars. The European Space Agency issued an official statement on February 28th about Ukraine and international sanctions against Russia, stating that it was completely executing sanctions imposed on Russia by our member states. We take note of Roscosmos' decision to withdraw its workforce from Europe's spaceport in Kourou, French Guiana, according to the European Space Agency. Because many large launches use Russian Soyuz rockets, this decision may have an impact on future missions. The European Space Agency said it would deploy European rockets when and where possible. The sanctions and wider context make a launch in 2022 very unlikely, ESA says of the ExoMars 2022 program's continuation. ExoMars' second stage was supposed to launch in September or October from Russia's Baikonur Cosmodrome. Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, made an appeal to Musk to save the country's internet. He said in a tweet, "Elon Musk, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia tried to occupy Ukraine," tweeted Fedorov. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand. Musk, who could practically play the savior in this situation, responded within 10 hours, saying Starlink service is now active in Ukraine, more terminals en route.